All right, we are live. Just showing up. I'm going to wait just a few minutes to make sure that YouTube and StreamYard are talking to one another. And there we go. Looking good. Everything's looking good. Looks synced up a little bit better than usual. But welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Normally I'd have rapid fire on Tuesdays where I answer everybody's questions, but today marks a lot of anniversaries for me. Most notably is it's been 10 years since I've been a Christian. I'll probably relay that story here in a few minutes. It's also been 9 years since I've had any kind of belief in God. So it's June is kind of that month where so there's that aspect of it. And then it's been 7 years since I've been a pastor. Today, May 27th, 7 years ago, I preached my last message in church and didn't preach another one since. So there's that. So, but before we get too going, I'm going to get a quick roll call. I don't know how many people will be here today. It's just me celebrating my liberation from things. So we'll see what happens. But let's see, we got Fred back. Thanks. Welcome back, Fred. I appreciate you. As always, it's always good to have you around. I kind of knew you were gone for a good reason. So glad to have you back. Azho's here, of course. So welcome, Azho. Appreciate you as always. So there's that. Ashra, good to see you. So there we go. And I think Martin's here as well. So that's good. And I, like most of my streams, I'll start out with a low count. And as the stream goes on, the count gets larger and larger. There is a goal in chat. If you want me to wear the Holy Bunny hat today as celebration of 10 years out of Christianity, I'll take that with 5 super chats and we'll do that. It's been 10 years since I had any religious belief associated with Christianity. It's been one of those milestones that it's been a whole decade. If I've told my story in my deconversion story playlist. So if you want the full details, but that day I had a lot of problems with Christianity at that point. I was still in the pulpit. I was still a pastor. It was my career. I didn't know how to do anything else really. I knew how to, stock shelves, and I knew how to preach, and I'm still stocking shelves now. Well, not really. I'm beyond that, but and at the time I was reading a lot of atheist literature. I was reading the Four Horsemen mostly, particularly Daniel Dennett's Caught in a Pulpit was of interest to me. I was looking at various critiques of Christianity. I had long dealt with the problems of the fact that the Gospels were anonymously written with anonymous sources, and so nothing could be verified in them. And I hit the pulpit that Sunday. I was preaching through the book of 1 Corinthians, and I was, and I had gotten to chapter 5 where I was trying to talk to the congregation about how sin can devastate a congregation, like an individual sin could devastate the centrality and the goodness of the congregation. And I was trying to, the question that kept nagging at me because a Dan Barker quote was going through my head where he's like, sin is an imaginary problem with an imaginary solution. And I was kind of praying at the time that God would demonstrate to me the actual, evidential reality of what sin was, because sin, according to the Bible, is a disobedience to the laws and commandments of God. And so thank you, Fred. Appreciate you. Tend to invoke fangs. Yes. Fred, you need to check out the last live stream. There's a lot of fangs lore there that you can argue about, and maybe even start off your own, denomination of fangs if you want. So I was, if I can just reiterate some of the story here. I was heading into the pulpit that day, trying to get across to my congregation how sin is a real deadly disease. And then at the same time, I have this notion that maybe it's just a made up thing that the Bible made up. And I remember before the sermon, I preached, I said, okay, God, Jesus, all of you, the Trinity, invoking the Trinity. So, and I absolutely at that point prayed, God, you got to show me how sin is real. You got to show me how this is a reality, because I have all this list. I'm having questions about your existence. I'm having questions about the Bible's inspiration. I'm having questions. These questions had reached this fever pitch point. And I remember preaching that message and, asking God, reveal to me how sin is a reality outside of the Bible. And what I ended up with was nothing. And I remember sitting back down and thinking to myself, oh my God, this thing's an entire fraud. And I really got after myself. So thanks, Martin. Appreciate it. Yes, the symbolism is important. But I really got after myself that day about, oh my God, Ed, this is all a farce. This is all false. It's all garbage. There's nothing real here. It's just like every other religion I've ever studied. It's based on wishful thinking and hope that doesn't really exist. And, the biggest thing that hit me that day, and I felt miserable for the next week, was, I make my living telling people a lie. And being an inherently honest person most of the time, that bothered me immensely. Kind of led to my downfall 3 layers later, because the stress of trying to be a pastor while at the same time not believing anything Christianity had to offer. I knew the resurrection, the whole Gospels thing was so weak. The resurrection, not a lot of evidence for, though, despite the efforts of Gary Habermas. I watched Apologia's video today, and I'm just like, God, Gary, you're just incredulous piece of shit. I don't have any respect for him. So I don't know, Fred. I really don't know. I know they're rah-rahing around Habermas's magnum opus right now, and the problem I have with that is I don't care how the size of your book or your magnum opus, is it actually real? Does it have actually any functionality? Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, my family still believes, a large chunk of them. My oldest has been an atheist, but that was back in belief for so many reasons. And so I'm celebrating today, but there's so much work to be done. And I don't, today is a celebratory day. I'm glad to be out of Christianity. I've never felt more liberated from something in all my life than when I left Christianity. But the next 3 years, for 1 year, I was a deist. And it was just hard because I'm trying to hold on, how can I teach deism through Christianity? And it doesn't really work. And then I finally became an atheist in the summer of 2016, and I'm like still in the pulpit. And so it was just, it was a hard time of life for me. And every time this year is kind of a mixed bag, because I'm very happy to leave it all behind. Wow, it's been 10 years since I've been a Christian. It's been 9 years since I've believed in any kind of deity. It's been 7 years since I've been in the pulpit. To this day, actually, this day is my anniversary of leaving the pulpit, 7 years. So, and I've been on YouTube for about 5.5 of those years. After about a year, I couldn't tease. So it's hard. It's hard for me. So there's that. Hey, skeptically. Yes. Yeah, I watched Paul today, and every year it seems like my anniversary, somebody wants to bring up something that proves the resurrection or proves Christianity. And every year I get to this point emotionally and I'm like thinking about the year past that I haven't believed in anything. And every year these people fail. So, hey, Alex. But yeah, it's in a mixed bag for me. On the one hand, there's a lot of emotions that I had to leave behind. There's a lot of, I got stabbed in the back when I left my church. I was going through a lot of things with an affair in my marriage and everything else. And I openly admit all these things because since then I've gotten therapy for the last 6 years or so. And I now realize the trap I fell into was very common. One of the first questions I asked, because the girl I was involved with was so young, she was legal age, but she was very young. Am I a monster? Am I a monster? And so it's one of those things in leaving Christianity, like I'm relying on people to help me discover who I am now, not this mythical God. And after about a couple of months, she said, "You're not a monster. You're just very stressed out, and there's something wrong with you that I don't. There's something about you that leaves yourself vulnerable for these things." And the last couple of years, discovering I'm autistic and hypersensitive, and all of that. Now I look back at that time, and it makes a hell of a lot of sense. I still feel a lot of pain about that, but I'm here to celebrate mostly that I'm free from believing in things that I can't prove. Okay, like I don't. I gotten past the whole idea of faith and belief being a virtue. I just don't think that way anymore. Hey, Triple E, good to see you. Hey, Mars, Henry Mars, Tyler. Negative effects. Procrastination is as best as I can tell from my own personal research, that's one of my problems is procrastination, because people procrastinate because they actually have self-esteem issues. They keep putting it off because they feel it's going to fail. Okay, and I have that problem with this channel because there's a lot of things I put off because I think they're going to fail. I don't have the self-confidence sometimes to do them. Now, outwardly, people are like, "Oh man, you talk on the internet all the time. You look very confident. You look very welcome to autistic masking." I do it really well, and so I kind of, I deal with all that stuff. As far as negative effects, this is why I'm still in therapy, because after 40 years of being in religion, 30 years preaching, 20 years being a pastor, there's a lot of neurology that's been like hardwired in me to a certain extent, and untangling that takes a lot of time. Procrastination is just one of the things I deal with. I have high functioning depression and anxiety too. Like you guys don't see it because I'm practiced at it, but before I do any live stream, I'm very nervous. Like for the 5 minutes before I get on air, I'm just nervous as hell. And as soon as I start, I'm okay. I have telephone anxiety. Like I don't like to get calls and I don't make them. Okay. That's still an effect. That was an effect all the way through my life. And I never really had an insight into it until the autism thing. I think the negative effect is that your religion hardwires you to certain viewpoints and beliefs, and then you have to deconstruct them. That's why we talk about deconstruction. And I've been a happy deconstructor for 10 years, although the first 3 years I just didn't, didn't have the resources because I was still in the pulpit and I'm still trying to make a go of my career as a minister. Can I do this as an atheist? And it's like, it's not working. Hey, Earl, good to see you. Thinking about vows recently, especially baptism, I was just wonder what your views were if you broke. I don't consider those. The thing about vows in a Christian context is you make them before God. If God's not there anymore, it's not really a vow to a thing. it's empty words. So yeah, it's becoming more a part of my identity, and I really actually enjoy that better. I think that's part of it, but I also think it's a self-esteem issue. So for me, I think the problem with procrastination is everybody wants to have this one cause of it, and it just really isn't that way. It's the way with a lot of issues is, I'm very enthusiastic about being an anti-theist and doing what I do here on YouTube. It's just I have this real I have this real problem where I think something, after years and years of being told you're a sinner and no good, when you try something and having a lot of disastrous events in my life, you kind of think, okay, am I going to, there's a fear of failure for me in a lot of cases. So I deal with that. So yeah, everybody, Matt, if you're autistic, there's a pretty good chance you mask. Yes. You figure things to figure them out. Yeah. I don't know, Ashura. I don't think so. But yeah, I think a lot of us experience a lot of the same things as when we come out of the faith. Is we really fight this. But yeah, I've never. I have a lot of enthusiasm for what I do. I feel like it's just not going to go anywhere. And then I end up getting into a depressive episode. So. Uh, uh, I'm happy in it. I'm trying to make this a celebration of getting away from something, Earl. But every year, this time of year is I fight depressive episodes all the time. I'm doing much better this year, and I think the reason I'm having this stream is part of it is fighting it. I'm happy that I'm out. I'm not so happy that a lot of my family is still in. I still have a lot of emotions attached with this time of year because of it. And I'm trying to shift it. I'm trying to flip the script on it and get away from the past and kind of look to the future. So that's kind of where I'm at, Earl. I'm celebrating because I think it's a great moment for me. I've been a decade. I haven't been a Christian. I haven't, believed in my imaginary friend Jesus. Been, I don't know. I don't. It's a celebration, but there's a sadness to it too. I miss people. Some of the people I was involved with, they were good people. And that's why I think it really is different for every person. I think why for me, it's just like I'm very enthusiastic about what I do. I have great ideas, but then I get to the moment of creation and it's like, is it going to be worth it? And so there's that. Yeah. Vows may sound basically being told a liar, not binding, just damaging. Have these degrees of enthusiasm, sometimes less. I think you're correct here, Oceanus. I think I'm trying to get to a point where I move from the past being a problem to being something that I celebrate. And part of it is having some self-compassion. I am very hard on myself. Like you're definitely right there, but it's easy to say, quit blaming yourself. It's really hard to actually do it. So yes, phone calls are the devil, so to speak. Yes. Me and you, Earl, we're right there. There's a lot of people. It's amazing how many. Every time I talk to somebody who's autistic, it's a common problem. Okay, that phone calls are of the devil, and I really wish I could get this across to like my kids. Like it's like I hate receiving phone calls. If you text me a half hour before the phone call and I know it's coming, I can prepare for it. Better yet, do it 2 days in advance. So. But yeah, it's just one of those things. You like to procrastinate, but you never get around to it, Fred. Which you're sure that you're surrounded by assholes either way. Yeah, I try to think that way too, Oceanus. I lived with my depression for a long time, and now I realize what it is. My case, a lot of it's hypersensitivity. When it gets warm, hot, there's certain feelings that I get from my sensory perceptions, and when my neurology gets overloaded, then I have a tendency to be depressed. And when it's at a certain level, I tend to be anxious. My anxiety leads to my depression. So there's that. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to remain here. I'm trying to help people, and hopefully in so doing, I help myself. Asher, I'm glad you're glad I'm here, but I don't know. I love the fact that I've been out of Christianity for 10 years. I also struggle still to this day with wounds I received as I left. I think it's the scars that tend to pulse, so to speak, at this time of year more than any other time. So I'll be fine in about 2 weeks. So, because I won't have much to think of it. So, experience miracles. From a practical reality, as somebody who's a former Pentecostal, miracles are people can make up stories of miracles and have them be believed. I saw it all the time in the Pentecostal church. Did I think I experienced miracles? I suppose so, until I analyzed them a little bit closer and realized it was just psychology. People like to fool themselves into thinking they've experienced a miracle. And it's very easy for miracle stories to spread. I've done that many times. You'd have Sister so and so, who's a great influencer in the church, has this spiritual experience. She calls it a miracle, and suddenly 10 other people in the church have that same experience. Oh, God's working in mysterious ways. There's a lot of group think to miracles too. So, yeah, it's kind of like finalizing the celebration of a divorce. It really is, Earl. I'm happy to be out. And I'm happy to be thinking for myself, and I'm happy to not have all this stuff clouding my life as much, and I'm happy not to feel enslaved. But there's a lot of emotions here that aren't positive. Okay, so, but yes, but it's a celebration. But yeah, it's kind of like that. That's kind of a deconversion issue, because a lot of us deconverting people who've been in it for a while, when we come out of it, it really does feel like somebody died or you got a divorce, a combination of both together, whatever you want to call it. And you're happy to be free of it all, but at the same time, there's a price tag to pay for being free. Okay, and it's not always emotionally good. So, hey, Iron, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Hey, it's the cranky yellow lagan. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Cranky. I think it's more than simple. Explain to my fundamental understanding about apologetics and presupposition. We then discussed different apologetics and presupposition. He understood the concepts. We just kind of spiraled. Yeah, it's going to happen. I think that's the biggest thing I'm glad to be free of, is I don't have to presuppose anything anymore. You got to give me evidence, and and that changes things. Yeah, I mean, Triple E, sometimes conversations are that way. It's not about getting to a result. It's just putting ideas into the air and then letting people think about it. I've never convinced anybody to be an atheist since being here. They've convinced themselves after they've, gone and thought about it. And I don't think if you have the idea that the conversation has to end with a victory, I think that's a very religious conclusion that we get as evangelicals. Like, if I don't get that sinner's prayer at the end of it, then it wasn't a productive conversation or anything. Like, no, that's not the way it works. That's not the way the human mind works. Sometimes it takes a while. So, you have 10 carat offering to Fangs. Fangs is pleased. Yeah, it is. The middle finger does that a lot for me too. I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you, Onesianus. I just think the whole the whole mental health issue, the more I get into it, the more there's multiple causes for multiple things. And it's just really I think we try to oversimplify it sometimes. It's just not that simple. That's one thing that I got rid of when I left my Christianity is simple answers. There just isn't simple answers or black and white anymore. There's just a whole bunch of other things. So, hey, Bren. Yeah, it's morning there in Australia. You and Fred. I haven't watched it all, to be honest. I started watching it. It's like a lot of other things, Brian. When I watch a video like today, I'm watching Apologia, and I had to stop it several times to think about what was being said. And so I love what you're doing, though. I think you're heading in the right direction there, though. More support for people leaving now than there. I think so, Alex. I think channels like mine on other places where people can go, like I've deliberately designed these streams to be like a support system, and I think that's why a lot of you are here. But I'm here to support people that are deconverting and who are having trouble communicating what atheism is to people who deliberately misunderstand it. So I absolutely love what I do as far as streaming, because I think we've created a good community of support, and that's was one of my objectives. So with streaming, I just need to get back to the other part of it where I'm also fighting against misidentification of atheism, getting things back to, hey, leave deconverting people alone and quit misidentifying things, and trying to get rid of the propaganda around certain things. Just putting my poli-sci degree to work, as well as the Bible and all that stuff. So my husband told me he wanted a Christian wife when I told him I didn't believe in God anymore. He'd given me a wee bit of trust issues. Yes. This is why I have a hard time dating. I have trust issues. I've been, I don't know, that might be a chapter in my book someday where I write about my broken heart experiences, because I have 3 of them. 3 women I've loved, and all of them have broken my heart in some way. And so and part of it, like 2 of them, no way, because of the Christian thing, and the other one, no way, because I don't trust them. So, but that's kind of where I'm at. It's like I have trust issues with people. So, pretty good. I had to work. So, my dad told me about Christian conspiracy theories since I was a kid. He considered them part of Christianity and taught me to think like so. I'm really thankful to have meaningful conversations with him, but the beliefs were insane, and not many people think how I used to do. It's hard to explain your particular private Christianity. Yes, I think a lot of people experience this, especially when you get out of the faith. It's really hard to explain the type of Christianity you're involved with. That's one of the things of deconversion I think needs to be looked into a little bit more. That how different types of Christianity affect the mind differently. Like if you're a hard Calvinist, that's going to affect your mind differently than being a full-fledged free willist kind of person. So yeah, yes, that's the truth. I was thinking about this last night. So yes, please hit the buttons. Thank you, everybody. Ember, I wish. But, I was still in the pulpit when I left the faith. That's the kind of thing about it, Ember. My story is kind of unique in the fact that I spent 3 more years preaching to people Christianity, while at the same time not believing a word of it. So it was, I really wish, but I'm kind of, it's like celebrating a divorce in some ways, Ember, as somebody mentioned earlier. It's kind of like you're happy to be free of it, but there's a lot of pain associated with pulling out of the faith too, which I still get counsel for. So, especially after being a pastor for 20 years. So there's that. So, But yes, I wish I did get a chip. What chip are we going to give me? Do I get a tracking chip? Do I get a do I get a trophy? You know, something. Up at early AM, guys. Thank you. Oh, maybe we'll have to give it to Earl. I know Earl's working on other things, so yeah, people do love emojis. I have several of my own now, Ember, custom ones. So I killed Earl's been very busy for me, so I appreciate her. Uh, uh, we all go through that. I'm always trying to be better to myself, and it really does help. I agree with you there. You don't date because people, yeah, it's kind of dystopian out there anyway. So, um, someone I know who isn't dating anyone who's scared of sex due to the religion. Yes, that's a problem. Cooties are everywhere. Eventually, you get over the cooties, I think, though. I can't do that, unfortunately. My hypersensitivity to touch causes me to pair bond really fast. So once I start touching my lover, so that's why it was so hard to leave my marriage after 32 years. The pair bond was pretty hard for me anyway. Not necessarily for her, apparently, but for me it was. Um, which God, which version? I mean, you can believe in fangs. Yes, there's a. I was having this discussion with my son-in-law because he was given an antibiotic that was way too powerful, and it like killed like a lot of bacteria in his stomach. So he's been having like problems eating, digesting stuff. And they said, well, it takes 4 to 6 months for all that to grow back. And it's like the helpful bacteria that live with us that help us digest our own food. So there's that. Yes, we give Earl a lot of head pets. So, yeah, it's, I don't know. My worldview has changed so much. And atheism is only a part of that. I've maintained that since the beginning of this channel that atheism can only be part of your worldview. There's other things that you have to have. And so there's that. But yeah, it's been, yeah. Uh, yeah. I suppose that's something that causes me to have this mixed reaction because our anniversary is June 10th, and that's coming up pretty quickly. That's when we got married way back in 1989, and that ended in 2021. So, um, oh man, I I just I still it's still hard for me to think about. The biggest disappointment was after I announced I wanted a divorce in April. I spent 2 months, just I spent a month sitting on it. I didn't file or anything. And then I finally filed. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks for everything to go through here in Michigan if you don't have any contested issues, which we didn't. We didn't have any money to fight over, and the kids were all grown up. So, um, and fairly amicable in a lot of ways. But what disappointed me the most is the absolute lack of effort to try to save the marriage after I said in April I wanted a divorce. Like there was no effort on her part to save it whatsoever. And it was one of the most disappointing moments in my life. It's top five that after 32 years with somebody, they don't even think the relationship's valuable enough to try to even save. That was probably the hardest part of it. Yes, I feel for you, Earl. I could never do your job. It would freak me out too much. I mean, I'm assuming you're wearing a lot of gear. I don't know. He could be. We debated last live stream, Harvey, how fast Fangs was, but I'm going to chalk up how fast Fangs is and what skills he's good at as divine mystery. I mean, I figure I'm in good company with a lot of other theologies and religions. So, yeah, may nibble at your keyboard. He might do that. I mean, he is a trickster god, so I can see where he's that way. So, it shouldn't really. I mean, so it's that. I I'm, I'm still happy I'm out. I'm still happy I'm out of the marriage too. Because once I realized how little she actually cared about it, it was a whole hell of a lot easier to walk away. Okay. So yeah, it was just, you're here for the uncorrupted vegetable, hail fangs. Okay. We have plenty of those. Somebody offered up 10 carrots earlier, so there's that. Mhm. Rubio and I know were both terms the Nazis loved, and terms yet led instantly to this. Yeah, I don't know. I just, the problem is theists bring it up, Oceanus, all the time. They always bring up, what's your worldview? What value does it have? And it's like, I don't give a damn half the time. I think she actually, we needed to go to counseling. And the one thing we never talked about was the affair, and the reasons behind it. She refused to talk about that. She just wanted to forget about it and all that. And I think that was a horrible mistake up on her part. She needed to talk about it. She needed to vent about it, and get mad about it. And she just wouldn't. And it just ate her up. And I think finally, when I said I wanted to leave, she was happy to see me go because she never dealt with the issue. So, um, and I think there's a lot of that. But yeah, I think that was the real problem I had with it. I was so disappointed that she cared so little. Okay. And then after a while, I realized why she cared so little. So, um, yeah, Earl, I feel for you. Hey, Wolf, good to see you. Yeah, not getting mad about it said a lot. Yeah, like it was like she wasn't angry about it. She, in fact, my daughter came back to me and said, she wasn't upset about the divorce. She was upset about the fact she was going to be perceived as a divorced woman. And I'm like, where is that a problem except in the church? Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the other issue is I think, this is kind of the bittersweet of this celebration is I think my leaving the faith was the eventual downfall of my marriage because I was done. There was nothing, there was no other glue holding the thing together. The kids are grown up, so we didn't have raising our kids together as something to do. We weren't going to be pastor and pastor's wife anymore. I was not a Christian. She was. Uh, there wasn't anything else holding the marriage together. And that's why I say, you know, one of my major goals with this channel is so I can convince a young person about to go into the ministry to do two things. A, don't get married until after you get your education. And B, go get an education in something useful. Don't build your whole relationship with another person on your religion because that's just bad news. And I speak from experience. So, yeah, he was more concerned when he had a non-Christian wife than the fact that he had a woman who loved him. Yes, it was a social, for my wife, it was a social status thing. Like her status in the church had gone from pastor's wife to divorced woman inside the church. And if any of you grow up in that kind of environment, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Um, her social status diminished, and that was all she was really worried about. And the fact that she was losing me, that I wasn't going to be in her life anymore, never entered into her mind. Didn't care about that, and that's what disappointed me. So, yeah. Oh yes, absolutely. When we got married, it was full blown Christian. You know, all the vows. We were going into the ministry. All the whole pressure of that was upon me when I got married. The fact that we had been pretty much boinking each other, for 3 months before that. Also was kind of there because the whole purity culture was banging us to get married so that we could, bang in peace. So there was that too. So yeah, I agree with you, Amber. I'd rather see if people live in sin than just getting fully committed to each other that young. I think waiting until you're, in your mid 20s to get to think about marriage is actually not a bad idea. So I now, it's so much, about appearance when you get married young. Like you're starting your life and you're getting successful and all that crap. And it's like, no, you can do that a little bit later. So figuring out who you are as a person is probably the biggest thing you should do when you're young. What is it, who you are and what you're after. So yeah, I'd agree with you, Kevin. If you waited that long to get married, I think it does make you a stronger couple because you know who you are. And I had no clue who I was when I got married. If I was divorced in the church, I wouldn't be able to hold credentials. So, and the punishment is mostly social. Like my wife went from the center of female stuff in the church to like an outskirts position where we're happy you're here, and we sympathize, but you're not going to have a lot of influence. She lost a lot of her influence over people. And I think that bothered her a lot. So, yeah, it's the social status means so much in church. You don't, I don't know if I've talked about that enough. Probably I should talk about that more. Yes, to bang in peace. Yes, get married so you can bang in peace. So, and nobody's going to talk to you. They expect you to be banging and producing children by that time. I always found that hilarious about the church. Once you get married, they expect you to do it and expect you to. So there's that. Yeah, Bren doesn't want to marry anybody. I think he's the wisest among us. Even emojis. Yeah, I think that. I don't know if it's been a bad plan for me, Amber. I really do enjoy my grandkids, and I've got two more coming. So I've got seven, and I'll have nine by the end of November. Um, and because my son's wife is having one, and then my daughter's having her sixth. So it's like I've got grandkids, and they're great kids. Holy cow! I miss so much being a child. Let's see. I've never been involved in church, but every single encounter told me that churches were gossip arenas and nothing more. Yes, there's a lot of truth to that. It's a lot about gossip. So, yeah, it's a bad idea, but you are going to live a lot longer than you think. Okay, I know people got married in their 30s and still got to see their grandkids and great grandkids. So it's like, so that, yeah, it is a big deal. It's kind of a celebratory move, but as somebody mentioned, it's kind of like celebrating a divorce. So it's like there's a lot of pain associated with leaving my church. So I'm having a good time with it, though. Oh yes, talk is cheap when the story is good. What a great song! That was a good song. Yeah, it's starting to get expensive at Christmas time. I buy my grandkids books though, so it's not as expensive. But my tradition is to get my grandkids a book, so even the babies, so they know it's coming. It's like, um, but like some of my like one of my grandkids was into dinosaurs, so I just bought him a straight up scientific dinosaur book. You know, stuff that I knew his parents wouldn't throw away being Christians. So yeah, you have a lot of fun. So oh, let's see. I was born in 1969. I became a pastor. I want to say 2000, 2001. Actually, it's probably early. If I count my associate pastor days, it's 1997 roughly. So about then. And I continued on in the Assemblies of God for quite a while. I got ordained in 2001. And then I stayed with that denomination till about 210, I want to say, somewhere in there. But yeah, and then I spent 9 years as an independent Congregationalist, and I left in, my last sermon was March or May 27th, 2018. So that's 7 years ago to the day. And that was my last time as a pastor. So, and then that's when I left. So, but I've been out of the faith for 3 years before that. Being a pastor when you don't believe is kind of an interesting experience. I don't recommend. Yes. Never realized the social status until I was just viewed it as something necessary, like saved or I realized how much a difference it made. Yes. To a lot of people, the social status they have inside a church is very important. A lot of people go into church because they're not successful in life, but they can be successful in church. And I saw it all the time as a pastor. Like my leadership in most of my churches was people that struggled in real life, but they came to church and they were the pillars of the church community. It's a way for a lot of people who aren't successful in a lot of things to feel successful and have some sort of social status. And that gives a lot of pride to people. So yeah, you've got to measure that when you go into the church. It's really very much a part of church existence, and the gossip is too. It's one of the most disobeyed commands of Scripture is don't gossip. Everything in church is pretty much gossip. So, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. I remember somebody telling me when I asked them, this young lady, I asked her if she wanted to have kids, and she's like, I should never be in charge of another human being. I have trouble with myself. And I think it's our modern society that allows us to kind of assess those things. So, yeah, it's an entrapment. I think if I ever do the partnership thing again, I don't want to get married, but I want to have something a little bit more realistic about what the relationship involves. So, yeah, I keep an eye on him, Alex. Some people do really dumb things for social status in a church. So, yes, good. They're good. Not as popular as you could be. Yes, I could be. I could be more popular, I guess. I'm not really interested. I don't know. My motivation has never been popularity. It's more of being respected enough to be listened to, I guess, these days. Yeah, silly presents are also good. Like I do that at birthdays. Like at birthdays, I get them silly stuff that their parents don't like. Yeah, if we do the children's book with fangs, yes. So there's that. Oh, dinosaur books, yes. I love the fact that I have two grandsons that really are in love with dinosaurs. I love them. They're a little young right now. Um, uh, Having to help people just felt justifiable. I realize now no one deserves. Yes, and that's the thing. When you get past the social status aspects, what other things the church teaches are very dangerous and actually hurtful. So, yes, the Book of Fangs, will be illustrated by I Killed Earl at some point. It may take a while for that, though. Yeah, Calvin and Hobbes, definitely. Maybe when my grandkids go a little older. Uh, if you're looking for psychological disorders to study as a psychologist, go to a church. Start talking to people. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate you stopping by. Yes, Scientific Progress goes boink. One of my favorites. I think that would be great too. Children's books about famous scientists. Yes. Hey, Penworm, good to see you. Oh, the toaster guy's gonna have new content. See, I'm honestly thinking, Dave, that I may push my Saturday stream back an hour to 7 o'clock. That would help my Australian fans a little bit. I'm not sure how it would do good for my European ones, though. So, but yeah, I definitely, I love watching you guys go at these guys. It's hilarious. You have a good crew there that takes on this stuff, so it's fun to watch. So, pinworm. Oh, yes, fangs and Bigfoot. Here we go. How much cake and ice cream can you eat? Yeah, I don't know. I don't look at it as a rebirth day. I look at it as an escape from an asylum, to be honest. um, I remember thinking at the time, like, I don't have to think of things in Christian terms. And it took me a while to get used to that idea. And I was a deist for about a year. And then I think somebody asked me about that. And I think I did a video on why my year as a deist and why I'm not one anymore, because I realized it was an intellectualized religion that got rid of all the bad parts of God while keeping the good ones. And that had more proof than anything else. So, yeah. Thanks, Tripoli. I appreciate you. Awesome. Thank you, sir. 3 carrots. There you go. Fangs is pleased. That's kind of what my goal is with the streaming. I want to get back to the videos because I need to get back to my activist side, which is, videos do more of that for me. I've got one, I think Questionable Witnesses is going to come back. I want to get to the teachings of Jesus and the Sermon on the Mount. That's what I'm really trying to get through, but I got to get through a bunch of other stuff first before I get there. I actually think the teachings of Jesus, a lot of them are dangerous, so and not helpful to people. But you can't tell that to a religious believer. So, yeah, probably. We just need to make a basic mythology of fangs, Earl, and then just illustrate it with illustrations. So, and have it as a children's book. There's an art to writing children's books. But, you know, I kind of suspect that it would be mostly adults buying these children's books. Yes, I ran away from that. I couldn't get away for the first 3 years, though, because I was a pastor. That's probably the unique part of my story is being in the pulpit and not believing. And the thing is, I think there's a lot of pastors that way. I think that's where a good chunk of pastors really are, and they just don't want to admit it. So there's that. It's okay. It's all right. Yes. I mean, if you can't give like real money, you know, carrots are always acceptable. So, yes, the Rabyd Mafia. Oh, yeah. So I have to say publicly, I've appreciated you very much. Not just your humor, but your support of this channel has been pretty unwavering, and I want to thank you for that. So, so there's that. You know, humans are weird. It's the damage they do applying fantasy to reality. Yes. And when I left the faith, that's kind of stopped. And I stopped damaging myself mostly when I left the faith 10 years ago. It's like it shifted to how to do that right. You know, how to do life right became more my issue. So, but yes. Yeah, unfortunately, Reddit atheism has its problems. Your second favorite Jesus moment? Um, I definitely want to take. That's why I did the original series. I called it "The Tall Tale of Jesus," and that was my original attempt at the life of Christ through the Gospels. And it kind of failed because I got to a point of, I really want to do the teachings of Jesus. So it's not just about the historicity of Jesus, but it's also about what he proclaimed. What witnesses would there be of Jesus, the cult leader, was my issue too. And that's why I decided to redo it. So leaving the cult on Derek, leaving the cult of atheism. I don't know. I haven't. Myth Vision did something. I don't know about Derek. Yeah, he's left the cult of atheism to start his own. Sometimes I think that's the way it works. But I don't know him well enough as a person. So, but yes, yeah. But I don't know. You got to watch atheism sometimes because they do things that is very similar to religion. Like I've been meaning to do a video about this for a while, but it's like how atheists still act religious. Like we excommunicate people for not having the right political social views as an atheist. And it's like, if atheism isn't a worldview, how do we do that? Okay. I've seen people, I have people that come regularly to this channel that aren't welcome elsewhere. And I think that's wrong. Okay. It's like, if you're so focused on one worldview that you can't engage others and talk about them, yeah, I think you can have that problem. I worry some about some channels now because it seems to be, I really hope I don't want you to ever feel like you can't express a view here, even if I disagree with it. I'd rather talk about it because maybe I'm wrong. Okay. I've been wrong so many times in my life about things that I don't want to ever get the attitude that I'm just right and everybody else just has to deal with it. And I think it's one of the things leaving Christianity 10 years ago, that was pretty much immediate for me. It's like, if I'm wrong about this, I could be wrong about a lot of other things. And I need to really look at my views and start being a little bit more tolerant, genuinely tolerant of other people's views. I think I draw the line at certain forms of bigotry, but it's like, no, that's just bigotry and I don't have to accept it. But yeah, learning to hear what other people have to say and genuinely listen and not write them off because they're not a Christian or not a certain view. Yeah, there is a cult out there of atheism, I would call it. And I too am trying to keep out of it. I'm just not sure. So there's that. I don't know. We'll give you something. It's a children's book, Fred, so it should be right up your alley. Constipation? Yes. Yes, you're talking to the lurkers? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's a lot of atheists that like to cancel people for not having the right viewpoints. And honestly, Asherah, I don't subscribe to that notion. I know that there's a lot of different viewpoints in chat right now that if they came out, there might be a little bit of a fight. But given what's going on in the world, I think we need more unity about what religious people are doing to make it difficult for other people that aren't. And, we can argue about the rest of it later. Okay, it's time to link shields a little bit, about what we do agree on, which is religion shouldn't be as dominant as it is, especially in the United States. So, okay, we're all right. They did a drama. Yeah, don't damage yourself. There's always somebody else that'll do. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I haven't watched it. I'll have to go take a look. Yeah, I could be wrong about that too, Ember. You're right. See, I think that the hubris when you leave faith is one of the things that I got rid of. It's like, I have a viewpoint on something, Ember. It doesn't mean it's right. Okay. I think it's a strong case, but I think the biggest thing with doing this is learning the value of evidence and the value of different levels of evidence and whether you can classify something as bad evidence, okay evidence, good evidence, great evidence. Once you realize that there's a lot of probabilistic things in life, it changes how dogmatic you are. I have a large problem with dogmatism anymore, where people are just so dogmatic about their views that they just don't even have the ability to discuss them. So, Yeah, it's an interesting. I want to get to that because Jesus is really weird. Okay, one of the reasons why I think Jesus may have existed is he punches all my buttons for cult leader, and that's just something. So there's that. Who's the mighty leader? I don't know. Oh, he pointed at a bunch of people, and three of them aren't atheists. That's nice. Ah, Derek. Yeah, Earl. Yeah, she's she's been at the target of this several times because she's like me on some issues. I'm a centrist or an out flat out conservative on a couple of them, and that's the problem I have with a lot of atheists. There's just not a lot of nuance views sometimes when it comes to politics and social issues, and learning how to listen seems to be lost. Uh, yeah, so there's that. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've been to atheist meetings, Ronald. They're really good if they have good social aspects to them. Like ours, the one I was with in Houston was really good because we'd meet, to play games and stuff like that, as well as just share, being together with somebody isn't going to jump down your throat about the fact you don't go to church was just kind of nice. So that. Ugh. Yes, opinions on everything do not equate to knowing everything. Yes, that's what I learned. Bangs is our leader. Yeah, he's a great leader. He seems to have the same leadership qualities as anybody who talks about him. It's awesome. Oh, okay. All right, Ember. I will. I'll probably go watch it, but every time I listen to you, you're pretty good at your analysis of what's going on in the world. I have my issues with people who want to kick me out of their club simply because I don't hold all their views. I have a large problem with that. I guess it's probably my generation because, like, I didn't have social media when I was growing up. So, you had the guys at your cafeteria table that you yapped with, and they were all over the place. And even though you had vehemently different views, you still were friends. And I don't know where that ability left us, but it's like, I don't have to think evil thoughts about you like you're an evil person simply because you don't share my opinion. I don't have to feel that way about you. I don't have to think you're evil because of it. So, uh, religion about personal experience than hard evidence. In which case, any religion is justified, and it gets really weird when you corner them on that. Like I remember two people, somebody arguing about their religion, and I said, "Well, on what basis do you say that that religion is wrong and yours is right?" And then they start giving evidence and stuff. I'm like, "Oh, so there is a way of adjudicating between two faiths as to which one is true and not. That doesn't have anything to do with experience." But the moment I want to say, "Well, all of you fail that adjudication," I'm not right. So, night watch at 9. Okay. I have to go to work, but I will advertise that. Dave, go check out Dave tonight. The edible just kicked in. Okay, that's all right, Ashura. I have lost track. I'm fairly certain the cranky elder god has come here because he always starts. He always starts with "Hi, everyone," and it's not spelled Hi, and it's a question. So I can't summarize the 200 characters. Yeah, I get there. I get that, Ember. Oh man, you know, I I really am about hearing everybody out, I guess, and maybe that just makes me an oddball. I miss the days when people could have, genuine discussions on real topics, disagree with each other, and still go have a beer afterwards. Because we never judged people's humanity based on their viewpoints, and now we judge people's humanity whether they're truly human or not, based on whether they have the right viewpoints. And that's right, left, center, doesn't matter. I found that that's just, maybe I'm just an oddball in the society, I guess. I just don't feel at home, but maybe that's the autism talking. So there could be that. I'm brought him back. Okay. Yeah, that would be a problem. See, I do draw the line at racism. If you're a racist, yeah, I'm kind of done. Um, I have a lot of Nordic type pagan symbols, and some people have accused me of being a white supremacist. I'm like, none of that means anything to me. Okay, it doesn't mean anything to me. Symbols are whatever you want them to mean. I mean, take a look at the swastika. I mean, in Buddhism, it's a symbol of balance or something to that effect. But in the Western world, nobody can ever put it on anything without bringing up something else. So I hate it when people demand apologies, as if those apologies are going to be genuine. I mean, I feel like on occasion, Martin, there's some people that have come to this channel I think owe me an apology. Many of them theists, but I'm not going to demand it out of them. I think genuine apologies are something where somebody realizes they've done wrong and come to you without you asking. Okay. So that's me. 200 characters is a hard. I thought the moon was a harsh mistress, but I guess it's 200 characters now. There we go. People of humanity on viewpoints. I saw Christians shrug off millions of Americans dying in COVID. It was 9/11 per day at some points in time. Yeah, I can see that, but it's like there's some things that just don't fall into those categories. So, but I mean, sorry, my apologies are awful. Oh, I love it, Ember. Yeah, but I don't know. The COVID debate is still going. So I got some people saying that millions are dying from the vaccines. I got other people saying the millions died due to COVID, and I can never get good numbers on anything because everybody's got different numbers. Yes, I am a very big Heinlein fan. He was actually, I should probably talk sometime about Heinlein helped my deconversion. I think there were definitely Job, A Comedy of Justice. If you read that book, it is an absolute satire of religion. Like it's particularly afterlife beliefs. Holy crap. Okay. But Heinlein does a lot of things. I mean, he really lives up to his reputation of, and I stole his objectives for his writing for my objectives for YouTubing, which is one, make money, because it's root hog or die in our world, and two, entertain people so that they enjoy being around, and then three, hopefully make you think at some point. And so I try to do that. I think those are good objectives, and he's always done that for me. Yes, I agree with you, Earl. It's just I have to deal with people in my life and where I work and things that think quite the opposite. This is the thing. I have to get along with certain people and work with them, even though I vehemently disagree with them on certain issues. Like I live in a red part of the country, so every day I run into people that voted for Trump. And it's like, but I have to do things with these people to make my life better, so it's like, So it's just, it's a constant struggle. So it's really weird being a libertarian because I'm like, yeah, I don't think the government should mandate it, but B, I think everybody should get vaccinated because it's good for everybody. So there's that. Yes. Long Earth, yeah. Yes, Lazarus Long is one of my favorite characters. I think, a lot of people dismiss Heinlein's later works, like his last works, as him kind of wrapping up everything. But I don't, because I think Time Enough for Love was a very interesting deep dive, because like everybody wants to live forever. They want to go to heaven and live forever. And in that book, it's like, once you've experienced everything you can do as a human, why in the hell would you want to keep going? Okay. But that Time Enough for Love examines that question. It's like, so. Yeah, I think it's asking too much from modern humans too. Um, I'm kind of with Penn Jillette on this with my libertarian friends. I've left a lot of libertarian Facebook pages over COVID. So it's like, because on the one hand, I'm very much a proponent for individual liberties. And on the other hand, it's like, this was climbing the Mount Everest. I mean, how fast we came up with a cure, or well, not a cure, but a vaccine, was just amazing to me. It was like climbing out Everest for disease control. The fact that we could do it that quickly. And yet at the same time, everybody's decrying it as fake. And I was like, oh my God. You know, it's like, I just, if they're anti-science libertarians, I'm kind of out. So, so I don't know. A ring-shaped planet? I don't know. That's a astrophysics question, and I'm not an astrophysicist. But I would be fascinated to know. Yeah, Larry, I loved Ringworld. Larry Niven, that was a good one too. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. Yeah, I mean, it's being a right winger, but thinking that gender is a social construct. Yeah, good luck with that with your conservative family. Yes, the galaxy dangerous to man, man himself. Yes, we're the most dangerous to ourselves. So, yeah, I've pretty much done the same, Earl. So I haven't had a sniffle either. So, and I haven't had like, oh, you're going to start growing, other limbs and stuff from the vaccine, or you're going to die from the vaccine. I'm still waiting for the massive numbers of deaths from the vaccine. Still waiting on that. So. I wouldn't be surprised, but I also would be surprised. I think science is more my way to go. It gives me a lot more assurance than believing. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, the fact that your community and microbiology could so quickly adapt it to a specific situation, it's like an amazing thing, and it should be praised and everything else, how quickly scientists solve the problem in a sense, and solve problems and continue to do so. The problem is these anti-vaxxers. They just they just drive me nuts. It's like it's the whole thing of how amazing life is and how we overcome problems so quickly as humans, and we can't even applaud it without people booing. It's that. So I had somebody, well, the scientists were wrong about this. I don't remember any scientists misrepresenting COVID. I remember a lot of politicians doing it. So I don't remember too many scientists doing it. Yes, exactly. Never talk social construct with people who think Trump is a real man. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you, Earl. I've just never seen it. I've never seen a credible study. Well, they don't believe in science, so how can they do a scientific study of how science failed? They kind of box themselves into a hole on that one. Yes, I loved what happened. Like from a scientific point of view, Astro, it was amazing, and I'm just like, this is an amazing thing that we've done. And somehow my libertarian brothers and sisters got influenced by anti-vax. It's like they had to have some sort of justification, not to do it. And it's like, no, you should be freely allowed to go one way or the other with it. The government shouldn't force you to do it, but at the same time, it's a good idea to do it. Is not not an inconsistent message, but they seem to think so. Yeah, I think they do. Wanting enough asteroids to accelerate a stone, then melting away after. It's a toughie. Yeah, it's sobriety. Yes, it really is. I really look at it that way. It's just clearing my brain of something that I was addicted to for a long time. I think me and Earl had this discussion on our autism stream that autistic people tend to be addicted to something. And I think religion was my addiction for a long time. And now it's gone. I worry about replacing it with something else. And maybe I have, I just don't know. Yes, I feel for you, Asherah. I do. I'm baffled at how quickly people turned against something that benefits them every day. So, yeah, and I don't know if that will ever become law, though. Um, I mean, how do you prove somebody gave you a cold? Okay, how do you prove that? It becomes a legal problem more than anything. Yeah, went for a year. Yeah, that'd be. I don't remember watching that, but yeah, that would have been good. Yeah, musing to me. Yeah, and that's the thing because like my son-in-law is allergic to a lot of medications, and I think, and he's also allergic to a lot of vaccines, and it's something about his particular genetic makeup. And unfortunately for him, he had to like get vaccinated and stuff to discover these things. Okay, so it's very hard to test for, but he's one of those few people I would say probably every time something comes through, he has to really look at it hard before he does it. So he's just very sensitive to that shit, and I feel for him. Yeah, books aren't a bad addiction. I think that might be my addiction now. Maybe I'm not sure. Pretty safe bet it was him. Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but if that's the case, Ember, then a long time ago, in the 1918s, why didn't we create a court of this person infected me so I get to sue or put him in jail? I mean, if you, that's the problem with diseases is they're often legally considered, like I'm being poli sci here, they're legally considered like, uh, you know, forget the pun, but acts of God or acts of nature, because it's very difficult to prove. Also, you have to prove intent. Did they intend to give you the disease, or did they know? What did they know? Legally, it becomes a real sticky wicket to do that. It's not easy to prove anything there, and it's why you don't see people getting arrested for assault because they gave another family the flu. Okay, it's never happened, and that's where the rights issue becomes really difficult to prove. It's just a tough one legally. So, but yeah. Yes, exactly. We definitely need to have. I'm very pro vaccine, so it's like it makes me an oddity in some places. Fantasy fiction is your mental addiction. Can tell the difference. Yeah, it's about not being selfish. I agree with you. Book of Revelation is going to be the one who figured out who the Antichrist was. Yeah, that's a common religious addiction. Trying to figure out prophecy. Holy shit. I think that's what you begin to realize. I realized at the moment I left Christianity is that it was just one mythological story among many. And I think that's the issue for me. It always has been the issue. Once I got that into my head, the rest of it was kind of easy. I could see the commonalities and myths. Yeah, I mean, really, who's the perpetrator here? It's the virus, So it's like, it can a virus have the mental acuity to stand trial? Probably not. That's kind of the thing. It's like, I hear that talk, and it's a nice emotional pitch to get people to do. Hey, you could be giving me this disease. Be a little smarter. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated, kind of thing. But you really can't take people to court for giving you a disease, because it's like, can you prove that beyond a reasonable doubt? And that's where it gets funky. So, but yeah, we really should take the viruses to court. The problem is, I think they rule the world and they don't give a shit. So we're just here. Yeah. Antichrist theories. Yes. Yes. Big one for me when I was in the Assembly of God. Who's the Antichrist? I think Bill Clinton won for a while. So, Eminem has a song where he plays. Oh yeah, it's Marilyn Manson, actually. Yes. Yeah, exactly. This is a very, it's just, I look at it from what could I legally prove? And a lot of lawyers have looked at this, and this is where I kind of live. I listen to them. They're like, it would be very difficult to prove in court beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody gave you a virus intentionally, and it's intent that makes it a crime. So it's like, and it's one thing when somebody puts a disease in a syringe and jabs you with it, then yes, they were intending that to be the murder weapon, and you can do that. It's quite another if they show up at your house, happen to be carrying a virus, don't know it, and then give you the cold, or whatever it is that might be deadly. That becomes a problem. They may not know, and so it's like, yeah, it's just, yeah, where would it stop? Yeah, it's like it. That's why legally it's never been done. Unless you have like a syringe full of some deadly disease that the guy tried to jab you with. That's usually, yeah, you're trying to kill me at that point. Yeah. Yes, and badly. It was bad, Earl. Oh my God, when they tried to do it with AIDS and make it criminal. Oh my God. That was just, yeah. There have been a couple cases with HIV that, like the person deliberately knowing they had HIV slept with somebody to get them infected. That has happened. And then that becomes an issue, but it's not so much, once again, it's always about intent. Intent is always a big part of the law. So Obama was the Antichrist. It seems like every Democrat president has taken that role at some point. Am I wrong? And then you'll have other people, all the Republican presidents have been the Antichrist. And then you got the Pope as the Antichrist. So Pope Leo is now the new Antichrist. I they need a program to keep track, Triple E, of who the Antichrist is. Yeah, negligent homicide is there. You could go for negligent homicide on disease cases, but even then, it's like the person's going to sit there and say, well, I didn't intend to give them the disease, and I didn't know I had it myself. They can claim ignorance, and ignorance is really hard to get past. Because ignorance of the law can actually be used as an excuse in certain cases. So yes, we don't know where the pathogen comes from, who the carrier is, the neighbor is. Legally, it just becomes a nightmare. And that's why it doesn't happen. Okay. You can really make a good case, though. You should not be a dick about it. Okay. But that's a social thing. Please socially do the right thing and don't be a dick, so. Oh, he does? Oh, that's right. He did it too, huh? Marilyn Manson and Eminem claim to be the Antichrist. There we go. I don't know. I can buy Marilyn Manson. I'm not sure I buy Eminem. So, uh, oh, okay. Yeah, maybe we should all believe. Maybe Fangs is the Antichrist. We could start that rumor. Is Fangs the Antichrist? It's possible. It counts. My heart, every believer it was. Why can't the Antichrist be multiple people too? Yeah, I buy that, Ember. I do. Yes, this is the one where I think there was a case where they willfully knew that they were infected and they slept with somebody hoping that they would infect them. And the reason that got traction is like they kept a journal or something about their intent, or they did something afterwards. Yeah, I had the disease and I hoped you would get it so you would die too, kind of thing. Yeah, that's something that's testable because you have to look at intent. Like the problem with diseases is there's so much ignorance. Like I could be infected right now, walk into work, not know that and infect a bunch of people without intending to, and not with any knowledge that I'm carrying anything. And that's the problem, you know. And legalities always want to know what the intent is. Is there malicious intent? And if there's not malicious intent, then you have to debate, well, you should have known better. Did you know enough to know better? That's usually what happens in safety issues. So, but yeah, you want to be in the Antichrist club too? Is Fangs the Antichrist? Because if he is, it actually makes me respect him more. Like I've looked into the Antichrist and I'm not sure he's a bad guy. Um, is that is that horrible of me to think that the Antichrist is not a bad guy? I don't think Satan's that bad of a character either. You know, I mean, he gets a bad rap. I mean, he's not the snake, but he does show up for Job, and he's like, you know, what are you helping this guy out for? You know, let's test him. Let's see what he's got. And then God is the one who really allows the testing. So I don't know. You know, what is it? Satan's killed 10 people and God's up into the millions. So you thought your name was Antichrist until 6 years old. Oh. Yes, it's very expensive. You have a new idea for the beast? Who? Okay, so honestly, Ronald, I can't imagine that AI will not suddenly be blamed for a lot of things in Christian prophecy. Like, oh, why didn't we see it before? We're waiting for AI to be the Antichrist. I hate to say it, Ronald, but that's a legit theory that somebody might take up. Okay, you know Christianity as well as I do. It's going to happen. Yeah, it's the potential. That's why a lot of people mask in public. Um, I don't, but you know, I'm not usually surrounded by a lot of people when I work. So I'm usually by myself. So he's a cute little Antichrist. The thing about Fangs is he's cute about everything. Uh, should be the Antichrist. If Satan controls the world, he's done a lot better than Yahweh. Anarchy and Sex Pistols. I am an Antichrist. Yes. Yeah, the thing is, Ronald, you know as well as I do, it's going to happen. AI is going to be the next Antichrist. It's going to be the next something. It's the next mark of the beast. It's the next whatever. Yeah, it's the other thing is like that's one thing I would say legally becomes a problem with COVID too. Is like it can take a long time for this thing to manifest itself, and then you have no idea where it came from. So it's hard to do the legal things with it. And that's been pretty true of most diseases. It's like ignorance. So there's that. Yes, wiggly little. He has a very cute nose and very sharp teeth. Oh, I have loved Fang so much. I am so glad he's the adopted mascot of this channel. I will keep him forever. I will love him and squeeze him and call him George. So, but yes, I fell in love with fangs as soon as we came up with the idea. I the thing is, Janice, I guess as an anti-theist, I'm kind of an anti-Jesus too. So there's that. So I possibly we have maintained here, Asherah, the fangs is the absolute incarnation of every other bunny before him. He is the final culmination of all the bunnies in every religion, everything. So fangs is so the bunny in the Holy Grail definitely is a foreshadowing of fangs. So at least so there's that. What's he has a secret name? I'm unaware. Yes. Yeah, it's kind of like that because of the long incubation time. That there's some people that don't react very negatively to COVID. That's what's really weird about COVID is some people are very react very badly, and other people. But I've never had it, so I've never tested positive one day. So, but I also have another natural. I have never had chicken pox either, despite my parents' best efforts to give it to me. So. Um, like every time people come up to me and talk about shingles, it's like, what do I do if I've never had chicken pox? So, yeah, it's just one of those things where I may have some natural immunity to certain things. And so that's, I love him. I will keep him. I will call him George. Yes. George is his secret name. Okay. It's fit. Dang it. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely the Antichrist as Elmer. Yeah, Bugs Bunny is definitely the Antichrist. But yeah, we have had fun with Fangs. Fangs is not only my mascot, he's a great way of illustrating a lot of crap. I think in my presentation, I think the best moment is when I gave Fangs the superpower to become invisible to the point that he leaves no evidence for his existence, just like every other god. That's one of my finer moments, I think. So I will nibble him. There we go. There we go. Fangs will nibble you too in return, Ronald. He has to nibble on your heart on a regular basis. So there's that aspect of Fangs that I always enjoy. Let him nibble on your heart, people. Oh, you could speak Pig Latin fast enough they didn't know what you were talking about? That is just cool. That's just cool to me. I knew a pair of siblings that learned Latin because the rest of their siblings and their parents didn't know Latin and they could speak in actual Latin and nobody would know what they were talking about. So don't tell them the secret name. The secret name of Fangs. Oh, when I do the one on the religion of Fangs, this is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun. Well, folks, I do have to take off. This has been a great celebration. I want to thank you guys for coming by. It's a milestone for me, 10 years out of the Christian faith. I think the more significant one will probably be next year when orange, when I turn 10 years old as an atheist next summer. So, um, 9 years ago in June, I went into June a believer in some sort of God, and I came out of believing not in any of them. But yes, I do have to go to work tonight, and I want to thank everybody for stopping by and cheering me up a little bit. It's always a bittersweet thing for me leaving the faith, and it's kind of like a divorce. It's great to be free, but what I had to go through to be free is still very painful to me at times. So, but thanks everybody for stopping by. You did cheer me up. Thanks for those of you that donated. I appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. This community has really started to develop into something that I'm very proud of. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of you stopping by, all of them. But, thank you. And as always, just let, may the blessing of Fangs be upon you. May he always nibble at your heart. May your teeth always stay pointy, nom nom, and all that. And as always, live your best life, guys. You only get one go around, and then it's over. So make sure you're taking all your time, money, and opportunities, and giving them to yourself, the people you love and care for, to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And as always, don't waste your time on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. So, there you go. You're going to get a free Edie. Yes, make sure you hit the like button, everybody. Appreciate all of you. You guys are great. I will see you all Thursday at Deconversion Hangout. So we'll see you then. And thanks for stopping by, guys. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Have a great rest of your day and tomorrow until we meet again.